G'day folks, welcome to the brewery. Today's the day I'm doing the Have a Crack lager. Well, give it a crack. Not sure. I'm going to have a crack because just it's a little bit short and easier to say. But anyway, for those who aren't aware, you didn't see, earlier in the week, today's Thursday, earlier in the week I went through and I started clearing out all my old grain. I've had buckets, tray piles. I had like 7 of these, full, 3/4 full of old base malts and 2 big tubs of specialty malts of all fucking kinds and varieties. And it's all getting old, it's bloody stale, and it's well past its best. And little John's I'm trying to cut things down here in the new brewery, make things just a little bit more simpler for myself, a bit easier. And I'm trying to get everything being really fresh, and I'm looking more towards trying to get grains and stuff sort of more as I need them. And a bit of a shameless plug, but given that Matty, the hop wizard, one of the beer monsters, one of my mate, is opening up the brew shop in town here in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be able to get me stuff pretty much on demand, nice and fresh. So I'm working towards that. But anyway, as I was going through, I decided I'm going to feed this stuff to me chooks, because they go through a shitload of grain, and the reality is I probably had somewhere around 80 kilos all up. So I thought, I'll mix it all up and I can supplement their feed with that. So it won't go to waste. It'll take a while to eat, but it's not going to go to waste. But as I was mixing it up, especially the specialty malt, I'm looking at it going, wow, this looks pretty good. Now, this is the whole grain I've got for today's brew, but like, there's a mountain of stuff in here. Anyway, I've got my water over here in the Robo Brew, coming up to a boil. No, not to a boil. It's coming up to match temperature. It's about 10 degrees off. I've got to mill this stuff up. I've treated the water. Little bit gypsum heavy, good whack of magnesium. I want to make it a bit heavy. I'm going to explain the thought process behind that shortly. I'm going to talk about what sort of grains are in here when I'm mashing in. But for now, I'm going to get this into the mill, get it grained up. Grained up? Milled up. It's already drained. I don't need the grain. I'm going to put it, and I don't need to malt it, because someone's done it for me. But I do need to crush it. So, I'm going to do that. Good old grain dust. I don't know if you're aware as a home brewer, that grain dust is fucking highly carcinogenic. Supposedly. I grew up in the middle of the wheat belt in Australia, and there is a massive amount of cancer in that area, and there's a lot of belief that it's to do with the actual dust associated with all the grain from the harvest. As young fellas, we used to play in the wheat silos and in the wheat piles. I've been around wheat dust all my life. Hasn't given me cancer yet that I'm aware of. Touch wood. But that's supposedly the theory. They just don't like to put it out there because it's such a massive thing. So apparently farmers get a lot of cancer, and a lot of people like to blame the chemicals and the fertilisers and the herbicides and stuff, but a lot of people believe it's that fucking dust. But anyway, it's no fun breathing it in anyway, so avoid as much as you can. Let's get the mill on. You're not going to hear me. Oh shit! Someone's had the drill on a different setting. Probably using the drill for drilling, that's why. Crazy stuff. Righto. Grain. Milled. Beautiful. I don't know how great the crush is overall because there's a whole bunch of different stuff in here, but we'll get the job done. So, we're about 3 degrees off mashing. Let's flip the camera around and go that way. Righto, we are at mash temperature. Well, mashing about 71. Mashing at 68 degrees. I've got 23 litres in here. Yeah, I'm looking for about a 16 litre batch out of this, 15, 16. Because of the mix of the grain, I've not even attempted to put this through any sort of brewing software. It's just fucking pointless. But I've got about 5.3, 5.4 kilo of grain. I haven't measured it exactly. I was just transferring, you know, scoops to go and measuring as I went. And I ended up doing about 9 different scoops of stuff. So it's just a rough mass. Somewhere between 5.3 and 5.5 kilo. Decent amount of grain. A 23 litre batch that'll generally get me about a 5% beer, high 4% beer into a keg. But like I said, I'm going about 16 litres. I'm hoping that we're going to get a beer somewhere in the vicinity of about 7%. I want a good, strong, solid beer. Anyway, yeah. So I'm thinking. Yeah, so I'm thinking somewhere around 7-ish%. I just don't know exactly how we're going to go. But anyway, we'll just push on. So what we got in here is this mix up is probably about 75% base malt, which is. There's Voyager Compass, Atlas, what else was there? Some SM40, so that's a little bit darker. Some unmodified Pilsner. It's about 5 or 6. There's a mixed hazy base that I've made at one point. So there's about, just in that base malt mix, about 5 different base malts. Then in the specialty malts, there's a bit of everything. There really is. There's everything from Carapils, Carahel. There's a whack of toffee malt in there. There's crystal malts. There's Carahel. Oh my God. Crystal bees. There's black malt. There's race malt. Chocolate rye. Chocolate wheat. Yeah. Just plain rye, oats. There was a whack of Munich and Vienna in the specialty box as well. Corn, flake corn, malted corn, flaked rice, rolled wheat. It's just, massive amounts of different stuff. So about 25% of this grain bill is that mix of specialties. I said it did have a little bit of Munich and Vienna in there as well. But so about 20% of this mix is specialty malt, estimated, which is a fairly. It's not a heavy amount, but that does depend on what sort of mix they are. But I am pretty confident we're going to get a reasonably deepish brew. I'm sort of thinking somewhere in the range of like sort of brown ale, strong ale, vintage type ale, that sort of thing, dark, a deep amber, that sort of thing. That's about what we look at. Now, I've got a pretty thick mash here. Shouldn't be too bad. It should be about 4 litres per kilo, so it's not massively thick. So I'm going to mash this to 68 degrees for an hour. I will give this a few stirs during that time because I've got no rice hulls in here. And given that there is a whack of rye and oats in this mix, this could well get gummy and stuck. So it does look a bit that way, just looking at the mash already. So I will keep this well stirred. I'll get a bit of a circulation going shortly. But now we're at 68. So we'll do that. We'll come back after that and see how we're travelling. Alright, we're coming to the end of the mash. It's done now at 68. I bumped it up to 72. This is our, I'm just going to let that finish. It's still got about 2 minutes left before we enter that bloody mash out, but close enough. Got my sparge water sitting here. This is a sample I've just taken. Now this is not the greatest container, and I would normally put this into my hydrometer tube, but I foolishly, I cleaned it the other day outside. I left it sitting next to the tap, forgot about it, and of course it's now broken. So this is, but this has come out pretty dark. I'm just going to grab a refract sample. I cooked one at the end of the first step. Let's get another one after another, like this is 20 minutes later. And slip my cover on me, bloody, I've broken the actual cover on my refract, it's snapped off. Let's see where we go. About 1069, that's telling me. So we picked up 3 points. All this stuff's happening off screen, sorry about that, but anyway. 1069 on the refract, which is pretty good. I've got a bit of mash water to go, so let's get that happening. Let's get this mash finished. Mash sparge water. Okay, that should be off already. Yep. Okay, pop off. That's researched pretty good. I had to give it a bit of a poke after when I first started. After about 10 minutes, it had backed up. So gave a good step. Since then, she's been pretty good. Without any issue. Some fucking elevation for all good. Seems to be draining at a nice rate. Give it our top screen, we'll pop that in just to help with not stirring up the grain bed too much. And I've got about 4.5 litres of sparge water. And given we've got a nice flow here, I'm just going to try and see if I can get this all in one go, instead of standing here and adjust it. And just let this oil drop through. So to run it nice and clear, it is good and dark. Just out of interest, I checked my brew father inventory. 34 different grains are in this. So yeah, you're not going to see that too often. Yeah. People freak out when you put 7 or 8 grains into one beer. Anyway, 34. That's alright. That's going to sparge through now, then I'll bring it to a boil. Now I'm going to sit down and work out what hops I'm using. So I was waiting to see exactly what sort of numbers I was getting, so I could work out what I wanted to do and how much I wanted to go with. We'll talk about that shortly. Righto, we've just hit the hot break. We've got, well, it's got up a bit with the bloody boil, but a bit over 21 litres, but I still have a bit down in there. There's probably another, close to another litre in there that I'll pop in just a second. That's not going to boil over on me, so I'll let that go. Let's go and talk some hops. Alright, all that hop breaks coming to an end. Let's talk about the hops. So I've just done a quick, rough sort of recipe up in Brewfub just to get me numbers in, so I can get me IBU calculations where I want them. We're definitely that darker end of the brew. Which is what I was after. It's going to be fairly solid flavour-wise. So I want something good to back it up. But I'm fermenting this here on the garage floor because the ferment fridge is full. So our temperature for the next week is going to range between 10 and 12 degrees maximum during the day. This brewery picks up about 3 degrees from the sun coming through that window during the day, so it will get, maybe it might sneak up to 15 degrees in here middle of the day. It's going to get down to around 3 degrees overnight most nights, between 3 and 6 depending on a couple of nights going to be a little bit warmer, but generally we're hitting 0 degrees or thereabouts most nights. So it's going to stay pretty cold in here. So as such, I've got to brew this as a lager. I've got to run a lager yeast on it. I haven't exactly worked out exactly what lager yeast I'm going to use at the moment. We'll get that done before the end. But so with that in mind, I'm trying to run it with some sort of a lagery sort of a feel. I don't want to pump big ale hops to some degree. So almost, I'm thinking almost like to some degree, almost an imperial dark lager sort of a vibe, like a really super duper fucking big schwarzbier or something. I don't know. But anyway, what I'm going with is, because this is based off what I've got here, so This is not actually what I wanted, what my original intention was, because I haven't got what I wanted. I in all honesty, I did want to run it with a fucking heap of super Pride of Ringwood, and get a very Aussie, that vintage ale, Cooper's vintage type of vibe with an Aussie feel, like even the sparkling ale sort of thing. It's got a bit of with the Pride of Ringwood finish off. Pride of Ringwood late, give it a very Australian feel. But that's not going to happen. They don't have any Pride of Ringwood. I forgot, I threw it all out. What I did have was getting too old. And last time I used it, I actually bought fresh stuff in, so I don't have any more. But anyway, we've got in a 60-minute boil edition, which we need to get into the boil, because she's boiling away over there. 10 grams of Dr. Rudy. Nicely out of New Zealand. That'll give us a nice little bit of fruit, some grassy notes. almost a noble sort of a feel. It is a SARS heritage, so it's going to get us in that sort of range. Magnum, 10 grams, also at 60 minutes. And this is simply because Magnum's going to give me a really clean bittering without adding too much to the brew flavour wise. So 10 grams of that for 13 IBU. And that's her. I'm going to throw her in. Right, that's in. 60 minutes. Let's reset the timer. Probably should do this on my phone these days, but anyway. And we'll put it. Okay, so 15 minutes to go on the boil. We will go a bit of mosaic cryo. Just to get us a little bit of fruit punch towards the end of the boil, and just to lift the beer a little bit, get a little bit of brightness on the tail end. So 7 grams. So this is cryo, so if you was just using just straight mosaic, I need a bit more. So 7 grams at 15 is going to get me in this brew 10 IBU. Oh, that's a little bit extra. Bit extra is not going to hurt anybody. Let's go with that. So I said that'll go to 15 minutes with a bit of whirl flock and some yeast nutrient at that point. I'll wipe that here just so I don't miss it. Because the last brew I did, I bloody missed it. I missed my whirl flock and my yeast nutrient on the hobgoblin, which is really unusual, but hey, been doing too many bloody kits, I think. There you go. Fucking hell, can't get my fingers working. Alright, that's 15 minutes. And our final addition will be good old mate Galaxy. 5 minutes to go in the boil, just to give us a nice little extra bit of fruit just to finish it off. Nice little tropical punch on the end. Will complement the mosaic nicely. Will give us just a nice little fresh vibe on top of the what we've already built up. And that's 6 IBU. And that's it. That's the hopping. There'll be no whirlpool, no dry hopping. That's just going to be it. Straight up, it's all boil hops. Not going to muck around with it. And that's it. So, 41 IBU all up. Very mid-range for the recipe. That's malt and hop balance, which is good because, like I said, we're looking for more of a lager than an ale, so we're not going to push one over the other. Nice balanced brew. So that's what's going to happen. At this point, we might come back. We've got a bloody transfer going on and see what we're looking at. You don't need to see all the hops going in. So I'll see you soon. Alright, so we finished cooling. We're good to go, except for the second fucking brew in a row. Bloody pump on this thing is blocked, so I can't pump can't pump out, which means the 16.5 litres I got in there, which would have got me target, I'm not going to get out because I've got to come out through the tap, which we're going to lose probably, I think it's about 2 litres, but anyway. And I've got to do this bloody a little bit dodgy because I haven't got fucking hoses to really do this. Yeah, no. We've had a little bit of a mess there, but anyway, while that's happening, we can get a bit of a hydro sample. This is, now I said before, yes, my hydraulic tube is broken, so I'm actually using the tube that the hydraulic comes in, which does the job, but it's a bit skinny and it's not very stable. It's got a very small base on it. Yeah, it's only just big in the hydrometer, but it does the job. It's certainly not ideal. But let's see what we're looking at. But I've got no idea what target gravity actually is. Well, 1059 pre-boil, and we are now 1068. So I was looking for about a 7% beer. 1068. That's probably going to get out about, I reckon, probably 1018, 1020. I guess there'll be a fair bit of unfermentable stuff in amongst this grain bill. 1018. That gives us 60 points. That's 7.8. That's 8%. So that's all good. I said before, imperial dark lager, schwarzbier, something like that. But anyway, that's what we're looking at. So brew day's going relatively smoothly, really. That's sort of what you expect. It's a bit roasty. It's a bit bitter from the hops. It'll be what it's going to be, I think. And I'm going to pitch what's left of this pack of 3470 dry. There's about 24 grams in there, 22 grams. I'm going to pitch that. And that'll do. And let it run. So that's it. Give it a crack. Dark lager. All the mixed grains we've got through. Things are going okay. Seems like we've made some beer. So we'll see where we go on the fermenting side. We're getting pretty close to being done there. I can't see me bloody measurements. I'll put the sticker around the other side, so hang on, give it a minute and we'll bloody see exactly what we've got. In the meantime, supporters of the channel, big thumbs up, Patreons, subscribers. If you're interested in Patreon, there's a link down below and check it out. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell, don't miss anything. Yeah, all this crazy stuff that goes on, you don't miss it. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. Any comments, any questions, stick them down the bottom. I will generally I will answer all of them. That's getting a little bit murky. Let's call that a day. Geez, even that's done pretty bloody neatly. Little John's had a fairly neat day. Where are we volume wise? 14 litres, and that'll be the 2 litres that's pretty much left in there. Anyway, that's all good. I'm happy enough with that. Yeah, from what was potentially going to be nothing at all. So I'm going to pitch this yeast, get this in the. No, I'm not going to get it in the fridge. I'm not just going to. I'm going to stick it over. I'm going to stick it over here on the floor. Throw a towel over it so it doesn't get any sunlight on it, and leave it go for. Probably 2 weeks before we bloody do something with it. We'll do I'll see it in about a month's time, 5 weeks to do a taste of this one. So where are we? I think it's the 24th of July. So this will be our first spring beer. So I'll see you then. Between then and now, I'll send some videos when we'll be brewing beer, drinking beer, or talking beer. Till then, good brewing. Cheers, guys.